While Max Verstappen blew the competition away in 2023, Sergio Perez was an extremely distant second, and his suitability for a seat at Red Bull was regularly questioned. As the rest of the field improved, Perez managed to claw himself out of a battle for P2 in the Drivers' Championship, but it wasn't pretty at times. It's common knowledge that Red Bull are open to letting Checo go at the end of his contract in 2024, but who will replace him is still a mystery. Christian Horner has made a wild claim regarding his potential replacements. Today, I'll check out what Horner had to say about the Red Bull second seat recently, so don't go anywhere. Sergio Perez's second place in the Drivers' Championship is all Red Bull have ever asked of him. He helped the team win its first ever 1-2 in the Drivers' Championship, and if there was a job description for him, that would have been the ultimate aim. Having achieved that, his seat should in theory be very safe, but that just isn't the case. The manner in which he secured second in the Drivers' Championship compared to his teammate Max Verstappen's record-breaking season has left a lot of questions that Red Bull boss Christian Horner needs to answer as a decision on his team's second driver looms. Verstappen scored more than double the points of Checo, which left everyone in the sport wondering, is Max just that good? Was Checo simply not good enough? Or was it the car to blame? Different drivers prefer their cars set up in different ways, and it has been theorized that the pointy, front-end dominated cars that Max likes just don't suit Checo. To add to the confusion, Perez started the season really strongly. 2 wins in his first 4 was followed by a second place in the 5th round in Miami, but it was that second place that broke him. Jos Verstappen, Max's dad, recently revealed that after Max lost to Sergio in the 4th round of the season at Baku, the Dutch driver promised he would never again lose to Checo and found a renewed drive for success over the season. True to his words, the Azerbaijan Grand Prix was the last time that Max lost to Sergio. That includes in sprint races as well. Whatever happened with Sergio Perez's form over the season, 9 podiums while his teammate was up there 21 times is not good enough in many people's eyes, and Red Bull have openly admitted they're looking at other options. Perez's contract is up at the end of 2024, and over half the grid are in a similar position to the Mexican with their contract expiring. The silly season this year could be one of the silliest in modern Formula 1, and what Christian Horner recently said about his team just adds to the anticipation. Speaking to Sky Sports, Horner reiterated Red Bull's position that they will want to keep Perez if he does well. 2024 is a big year. A lot of drivers' contracts are coming to a close. We've got great talent in our own stable. Of course, the car is very attractive for other drivers to want to be in, he said. There's a little bit of that, discussing drivers telling Horner they would drive at Red Bull for free, but there's no guarantees of anything. Checo is our driver. If he does well, we'll want to keep him for 2025, but it's all about how he performs in relation to his teammate. Considering any driver that Red Bull would consider are paid £5 million a year upward, that's a shocking claim. Whether it is true or not is something I'll leave up to you to decide, but giving up millions of pounds a year to have a go in the best car on the grid and battle Max Verstappen for a chance at Formula 1 glory is the most stereotypically F1 driver thing imaginable. While the members of the grid who are out of contract in 2024 might be throwing themselves at Red Bull, the drivers Red Bull would be willing to take on is likely a much smaller pool. Outside of the drivers on their own teams, Ferrari's Carlos Sainz might be considered, and Fernando Alonso would certainly have a chance as well. So while there are a number of drivers who could in theory end up on the team, realistically, the options are much less. That is, of course, assuming that Red Bull even replaces Checo. Horner has called on Perez to improve his qualifying performances, particularly as he expects the grid to converge in 2024. Checo is a very capable racer, and being Max's teammate is a very tough gig, he added. I think he's shown real mental strength to be able to cope with that. The area he needs to focus on is Saturday, making sure that his average qualifying is a lot closer to Max. We need him starting further up the grid, particularly if the grid is going to converge. We can't afford to have a lot of cars between him and Max. The Red Bull team have spoken a lot recently about the rest of the cars catching up to them and the grid converging towards a similar lap time. 2023's qualifying sessions were already some of the most competitive in recent memory, and with the technical regulations staying the same for 2024, they're likely to get even closer. But while qualifying was highly competitive, the fight for first place in the race never was. Speaking about Verstappen's dominant race form, Horner said that 2023 was not a year that would be repeated, predicting the records Max broke last year would remain unbeaten for a long time. He broke records from 1988 with McLaren. He broke records for being the most on the podium, the most wins in the season, most consecutive wins, the most points, and I think it's only going to be with time that you reflect on this year. Bearing in mind the amount of time it took, over 30 years to break that record, this one could be around for quite a while to come. Part of Max's success has to be attributed to the team as well though. The RB19 was a monster of a car, which he made the most of. Red Bull, led by Christian Horner, really excelled, and considering everything that was going on around the team, with Helmut Marko's racist and inappropriate remarks, as well as the carousel of drivers at AlphaTauri and calls for Checo to go, Horner did an unbelievable job in 2024 2023. Speaking on the Sky Sports F1 podcast, Hit Lane reporter Ted Kravitz praised how Christian managed to deal with so many difficult characters while maintaining their lead over the rest of the grid. There were only 2 driver changes during 2023, and it's no surprise they both came at sister team AlphaTauri. After 10 races, Nick de Vries was replaced by Daniel Ricciardo, as Christian Horner and Helmut Marko saw an opportunity to get the Australian back on the grid. He was then replaced by Liam Lawson after injuring his hand, and while the Kiwi impressed, he couldn't earn a permanent spot on the grid. Ted Kravitz has praised how Christian Horner led a team full of very big personalities, including Helmut Marko. The Austrian sent warnings to Sergio Perez that he needed to up his game, and one in particular stereotyped South Americans as being unable to win world championships. Clearly, Marko failed geography at school, as Mexico isn't South American, and some of the best drivers in the history of motor racing have come from the continent anyway. Speaking about the 50-year-old team boss, Kravitz said, "It's a bit complicated when it comes to who's around and above Christian Horner at Red Bull, and I think the only way you could mark down Christian Horner is for the way the Sergio Perez situation was dealt with and the way that he was not able to control Helmut Marko. Now, Helmut Marko is uncontrollable. He's an uncontrollable force, but Marko's unacceptable comments about Sergio Perez were not very quickly jumped on because he can't." Behind the scenes, Marko's comments about Checo were apparently very badly received. With a new corporate board in charge of Red Bull and Marko a very public figure for the brand, the negative PR that came from him has left him on very thin ice. Plenty of reports and comments from Marko himself suggest that when his current contract with Red Bull expires at the end of 2024, he could be gone from the team. Ted continued by saying, "In a way, this is a genius of what Horner has managed to achieve at Red Bull Racing, because say what you want about Christian Horner, but he's juggling some situations, some hot stones, but you have no idea how difficult they are. He's juggling some components and volatile parts. Max Verstappen, who has shown that when the car isn't to his liking, is very vocal about it, and can have a short fuse on the radio with GP as engineer. We know that. He's juggling Helmut Marko, who's the definition of a loose cannon. He's juggling Oliver Mintzlaff, his new boss at Red Bull Racing, who's finding his way in charge of the racing program. He's juggling Sergio Perez and getting Checo back to what they want to do. And he's juggling everything else, the political side of Formula One. So he's doing an amazing job. With the new powertrains division ramping up, ready for Red Bull to become a full works outfit in 2026, Horner's ability to keep all his plates spinning is going to be put to the test in 2024. As a team principal, he loves to have full control of everything that is happening within the team, and has proven over the years that he is very effective in that role. But with Checo, Max, Marko, 2 teams, a new engine factory, and 8 competitor teams that are out for blood, can he keep on top of everything, or will he have to get some more help? Let me know what you think in the comments down below. And what about his claim that drivers are offering to drive for Red Bull for free? Who do you think that could be? For now, until next time, drive safe and bye-bye.